Disability comes with its own share of challenges. Those who acquire a disability later in life may face challenges because they need to change and adapt to a new way of doing things. In this episode, we feature such individuals. My name is Jane Theuri, and this is Able Differently. Welcome to the show. Nikhil Sachania, a paraplegic safari rally driver, was involved in an accident in 2011. Let's take a look at his story.
Before the actual event, where we actually go out into the field with a normal car, and we make notes of every corner, every jump, every ditch that is on the road, so that the co-driver can read it back to me. So that normally takes about half a day, depending on how long the stages are, maybe the whole day too. Then evening time we sit together, we read through the notes, make sure any amendments are done. Then obviously try to get an early night in, because the starts normally are pretty early, especially me preparing myself for the day. I do have to get up quite early. So it's I do have to get up quite early just to make sure that I'm ready for the day. My overalls are all put on properly. And then the rally normally starts at about 7, 8, just depends on where we are in the location. And once we're in the car, it's good to go. We belt up, helmets on, good to go.
Meet Nikhil, the paraplegic safari rally driver who, despite all odds, is doing everything possible to achieve his goals.
I was born in England, and then I moved here with my family when I was about 5 years old. I had my education done here, my primary school, secondary school, and then I moved to the UK for my university. And then I came back after 3 years to join my father in his business. And then I wanted to pursue a career in motorsports, where I unfortunately had my accident. And now I'm still pursuing my dream in motorsports.
Nikhil was involved in an accident that left him physically challenged in the year 2011.
In 2011, I went up to Athi River for a training rally. I used to drive a quad bike, which is like a motorbike with 4 wheels. And I think it was a Sunday, and we drove about 100 kilometers, and we were training for an upcoming event. Unfortunately, I hit a ditch really badly, which threw me over, and the way I landed, I broke my spine. So it was broken from T6, T7, so somewhere about mid-waist, and I got paralyzed from the waist down. Ever since then, I was taken to Nairobi Hospital. Then I was flown to India to do my operation and rehabilitation. And then 6 months later, I came back to Nairobi and I tried to get back to a normal lifestyle.
His passion for racing goes way back to when his dad also used to rally.
The passion, I think, comes from my father. He used to rally in the 80s and also in the early 90s and 2000s. So ever since a young age, I've always been exposed to motorsports and fast cars and go-karting. So it's always been something that I want to do. And then watching other rally drivers, like Ian Duncan, Baldev Chagga, have always inspired me this is something that I want to do.
As it would be, Nikhil faced a handful of challenges, but lucky enough, the support of the family and friends played quite a big role in his recovery.
Of course, when it did happen, initially the doctors would say that you won't be able to walk again, but that was secondary. You don't think of that. You think at the beginning, you think you're still going to walk again. Doctors will do something. Technology is changing. At first you don't think that, but then obviously as time goes on and you're put into a wheelchair, you do feel that, wow, I might not be able to walk again, and life does change. I did have a bit of time to adapt. So about Obviously, rehabilitation was 6 months, so I did adapt pretty well. I had broken my arm as well, so it did take a bit longer, I think. But obviously, everything that we used to do easily changes. Getting into a car is much different. Getting into bed, putting on your clothes, something that you take for granted, but it's something that I learned. It was tough, but I think you just have to push forward and eventually you'll get there. Yeah, the rehabilitation did help a lot. Obviously, for me, it was more physical to help me to help blood circulation, loss of muscle. And obviously, the occupational therapy was to help me learn how to put on clothes and stuff, and how to do transfers, how to live a daily life, basically. It did help a lot. I know I had a lot of people supporting me. Even at the rehab center, they did have a psychologist and psychiatrist. But fortunately, I didn't need anybody like that. I just kept a strong mind. But it is tough, and I think with the support of friends and family, it does help.
He has participated in several competitions, including the recent WRC Safari Rally event that took place in June 2021.
In 2014 is when I started my rallying career, and I won the SPV category, which is especially prepared vehicles, and I was awarded the Motorsportsman of the Year from the Kenya Rally Championship. And I also won the Sawyer Disability Award from Safaricom. And then over the years, I've changed my car and obviously been promoted to different levels in the rallying scene. So I've won the Division 3 championship. I've won the SPV championship 3 times. And so the WRC that took part recently. It was pretty fun because 20 years of not having the WRC in Kenya was a very big deal. The experience was amazing. I was interviewed by a number of worldwide guys. Met a lot of world rally drivers. Obviously, me being in my position, it helped a lot more, which I'm very grateful for. And the experience overall was fantastic.
My car is a Group N, says Nikhil, who also explains about the different categories and groups in safari rallies.
In the local rallying scene, there are 3 divisions. There's 4 divisions actually. There's the Premier Division, Division 1, Division 2, and Division 3. It's similar to football, where you have your divisions between the teams. But here it's classed individually per driver. So it's classed on driver skill, your speed, mainly driver skill, and the car you drive. So you normally start off at Division 3 and work your way up to Premier Division. So at the moment I'm in Division 1, and then in the future, depending on how I perform, I might get promoted or even demoted on how the rallying scene is going. Yeah, so that's that's how it's normally divided.
There were special modifications done to the car to suit his driving.
The rally car or the race car is stripped out of everything. There's no interior really. There is a roll cage to protect us from rolling or any crashes. Performance-wise, it's a production vehicle, so there is slightly more power that we try and churn out from the car with the exhaust and the ECU. The seats are different. They're bucket seats and a 5-point harness seat belts. Obviously to keep us inside the car so that we're not get thrown around. Apart from that, it's more or less it's a standard car that you can buy, but then obviously you have to prepare it for the rally.
The governing body of motorsport, FIA, which aims at promoting safe, sustainable and accessible mobility for all road users across the world, gave him a grant, which was a plus for him.
So the FIA they have got a commission, which is the Accessibility and Disability Commission, where they promote disabled drivers and volunteers into motorsports, to help them progress into motorsports. So I was one of the first candidates that they selected, and they provided me with safety gear for the rally car. So it entailed with a fuel cell, where if the car catches fire, the fuel will remain in the fuel tank and not catch fire. There's also a fire suppression unit in the car, which, in case there is a fire, it'll spray the whole car inside, so to stop any flames from getting in. There is overalls that they've given us, so again, up to standard. And of course the inner clothing, the shoes and the gloves.
There is need for government to offer support to persons with disabilities.
A lot of stuff needs to be done by the government, especially accessibility to buildings, just different areas, locations. It's very difficult for somebody in a wheelchair, or even not a wheelchair, who's just maybe amputees. It is difficult to get around. There is, I think now the newer buildings are very accessible. There's thought behind, when somebody does a building, there's some thought behind it that yes, we need a lift here, we need a ramp here. Even hotels now are, they're accommodating all kind of disabilities, where the rooms are all one level, bathrooms accessible, the showers accessible. But I think the government needs to step up where it comes to modes of transport. Like for me today, to get into a matatu is not as easy as anyone would think. Even a bus is not as easy. And I think obviously our footpaths, I know there's a lot of construction going on the main highway, but it's something that needs to be addressed.
With sheer determination, we can always achieve our desires.
Well, I think I'm a prime example where disability is not an inability. I think if you put your mind to it, you can do whatever you want, you can achieve whatever you set your mind out to. Obviously, I set out a motorsports career, but there are so many other things that you can do, and I've seen others do it: shooting, weightlifting, tennis, basketball. It doesn't necessarily have to be sports. It can be anything you can achieve, even business-wise, and just living a general life. Yeah.